What a pain, literally speaking. When we're on a plane taking off or landing, there's that really unpleasant sense of discomfort that we experience. We know it's got something to do with pressure, but what exactly is happening in our ears? Come with me. Let's take, for example, what happens when we are landing. As we descend in altitude, the pressure increases. What happens to our ears? The external pressure increases and reaches a higher level than the pressure inside our ears. So there will be a pressure difference that will cause something to happen. This is the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. And the increased pressure pushes the membrane inward. When we hear those little noises, it's because the membrane is being pushed inward, is being flexed inward. We need to compensate for the change in pressure. We need something that can help balance it out, and this comes up often when we're dealing with pressure. How is it done in this case? Thanks to this small canal called the eustachian tube. This canal, which connects the inside of the ear to the nose, sometimes opens. When it opens, air enters and the pressure balance is reestablished. The internal pressure is once again equal to the external pressure. Since the pressure is the same on both sides, there is no force impacting the eardrum. That's why on an airplane, we try to remedy the situation by holding our noses, chewing gum, or swallowing. We are simply trying to open the eustachian tube to balance out the pressure difference. The same thing happens, for example, when we are on a train. When we go into a tunnel, what happens? When we enter a tunnel, the pressure increases so suddenly that our eustachian tubes don't have time to open and equalize the pressure. So for a moment, we experience some discomfort due to the extra pressure. When the tube opens, air enters and the balance is reestablished. Conversely, when we go to the mountains or ascend in altitude with an airplane, the decrease in external pressure means that the internal pressure is higher. So, the pressure is greater here than there. In this case, when the eustachian tube opens, air exits through the nose, reestablishing the pressure balance. So when we talk about compensating and equalizing the pressure, we're basically talking about this small tube opening. Wonderful! Have a great trip if you're heading off somewhere.
This meat has already thawed. So, can it be refrozen? Generally no, but there are cases in which it can be done. Let's see why that is.
First of all, why do we freeze food? Because all food contains bacteria, but when the food is fresh or has just been cooked, there's a limited number of them, so they're not noxious. When we freeze food, it doesn't kill the bacteria, but it does halt their growth for a time and consequently prevents the food from going bad. But when food thaws, the bacteria start to grow again, and they do so very quickly because bacteria grow exponentially, especially when the temperature is between 20 and 50 degrees, so you should thaw food in the fridge. However, if we decide to cook it after it has thawed, we're going to kill almost all the bacteria, which will make the food safe for consumption. However, if we decide after a few days that we no longer want to eat the thawed food and choose to refreeze it, first of all, as time has passed, the bacterial count will have increased. We freeze it, thus stopping the growth of the bacteria, but there will already be a large number of them. So when the food thaws a second time, the bacteria will start to multiply again, and as they were already there in abundance, we end up with highly contaminated food. So even though the cooking process will kill many, but not all, of the bacteria, we can end up eating food that contains a lot of bacteria, and so we risk getting food poisoning. This is why food should not be refrozen. But when can it be done? After we've cooked it, because if we decide to refreeze it once it has been cooked, we'll be freezing food that has a low bacterial count, and so it's comparable to freezing it for the first time. We're freezing food that doesn't contain a lot of bacteria, and even if we thaw it and they start to multiply, there's still a limited number of them, so there's no risk of food poisoning, and it's something that can be done.